CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. Hell yeah, we got Bryan Bieschke back on CMMS Radio. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. There's stuff going on. A lot of events coming. And look, first thing I want to get out of the way, I mean, obviously, welcome back to CMMS Radio, but brother, you are now with Uptime Solutions. And I saw the announcement. I chimed in, showing the love and all that. But I want to hear a little bit more about that, because the way I'm seeing the team unfold and what kind of horsepower, firepower, you know how I am. I like to just keep it real. I mean, you guys got you got the goods, man. Talk to me about what it's been like so far. Why did you join this particular organization, and you know what's happening now and what's on deck?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm glad we can talk about that. So I had left my full-time position at Upkeep for some personal things. I'm not going to talk about it. You know what they are. I had a lot of things I had to get figured out very quickly as it pertained to something very important in my life. And I ended up getting those things figured out pretty well. And in that time, I was approached by Uptime and started talking about a lot of different things, where they want to go, what kind of expertise they want on a team, blah, blah, all that type of stuff. So we ended up working it out. And, I took the position as the vice president of maintenance programs for them. There's no surprise. I know you know this because you know me well, Matt, all our friends, they were all very similar thought process here. But I think the biggest thing for me was Uptime values human expertise, human experience, and the ability for humans to derive so much value for a business and customer base and industry. And that, me, like that's like everything I care about, right? People, leading people, building teams, enabling success of others, and just really leveraging the time that people have spent to become masters of their craft. I don't take that very lightly, and I want to show that off to people. I want people to know that there are these bad MFers out there who can do and know all this wild stuff. And Uptime takes that human aspect of it and amplifies it in the industry. There's not a lot of condition monitoring companies that are going to talk about their human performance assets. They're going to tell you about AI. They're going to tell you about technology. They're going to tell you about all this other crap. Now, Uptime has an amazing product line, from ultrasound to vibration, some temperature. There's a lot of things there. But the pinnacle is human expertise. And that is extremely valuable to me. And I love that about it.
Yeah. Now I think, when you talk about the focus, there's so many options for organizations out there on what they can focus on. And we understand, I think in full disclosure, we understand companies are building, they're growing, they've got to make money. The marketing plays are sometimes very I like to call it fearless and out front.
Yep. They're
and
insane.
Then there's also the idea of kind of a, lead magnets and all that stuff. And look, everybody's got to do what they've got to do. But when you look at this, I'm such a fan of this concept of people, process, and then the technology. Save a few scenarios, one-offs, whatever you will, where technology can kind of help with the people in the process. But the place where it all happens is where the work gets done. And I'm not against technology doing things that put time back on the table, help us eliminate waste, get us more organized. But I'm not ready to take the humans out of the game.
No.
And I think even when we do further down the line, I think we're going to lose some stuff. There's a certain character, and I like to call it way of being, when it comes to, not just you and our mutual friends, the people with the high integrity, but one thing we're not going to take away is this concept you're big on of you have to do the work. And that takes time, that takes intention. And I think being in a place that not only embraces that, but says we need to be doing that for and with our clients, that's what I'm all about. The elusive win-win. I'm
Yes.
always going to say it. I don't care if people like it or not. It's not a flashy term. It's not a buzz concept. It is an actual thing that you have to intentionally chase down. And you can't just say you're doing it. You have to do it. Otherwise, it's not happening. So, what do you think? Oh, by the way, the idea that you get to focus heavily on maintenance and building maintenance programs for your clients, that literally is your thing aside from crawling around on equipment, right?
Yeah. So you know this. I have two loves in this world: machines, tearing shit up, wrenching, troubleshooting, getting dirty. Okay, that's one love. My other love is the maintenance and reliability industry: CMMS, technology, leadership, manufacturing, heavy industry, anything that is involved in facilitating the success of the people, products, and companies that make this world move. I've said this before. You don't have shit without maintenance and reliability professionals in this world. Everything you touch, look at, think about in some way, shape, or form is connected to somebody doing the work. And you cannot get around that. That's just a thing. And as some of our great friends are at Uptime now as well, right? So Matt Knuth has been there, right? He was a pinnacle in my selection, right, for Uptime. Him and I have been friends, just like you and I have been friends. Like for a while, we always chop it up, talk the realness. Like, and sometimes we don't agree, and we'll let each other have it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how we get better. And then we have a Missa Giddens, who was my counterpart at Upkeep as well, who was a complete rock star. Jeremy Drury. I mean, there's just a whole slew of people at Uptime who have the same outlook, vision, with that human aspect in there, right?
Yeah.
And we know that the technology is going to grow and get great. We have all those smart people, right? We know all those things. The differentiator, and a lot of people don't like me here say this, the differentiator is your human expertise. It's not your AI. It's not whatever. It's your human expertise. Who is going to, the AI may go, hey, this bearing has a defect. Okay, what kind of defect? How should I go about this? Do I have the skill sets appropriate to perform this work? Am I going to have an analysis done on this bearing or shaft or whatever after the fact? Who's going to look at that? How am I going to make informed corrective decisions to modify my preventive and my corrective action plans to leverage this technology even further beyond its initial input? So like the human is where it's at, and
Yeah.
Uptime focuses heavily on that human aspect.
Well, what I like about this, I think there's so much potential when that's a focus and this augmenting, amplifying technology starts to get leveraged in a very proper way. I think that's going to happen. I think if you have both of those things going, man, I mean that could be really brilliant. And I think that's everybody's goal. I just think a lot of people are saying it before it's actually there. When it comes to, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the general concept of facility assessments. When you do a facility walk down and you're going through a plant, I did a episode where I was talking about, we did one where it was less of an assessment, more of a, let's see what's really happening here, how it gets done. And this getting to this idea about how do you figure out, how do you maintain an intent around understanding the client, their business, and how it works already, so that you're not pigeonholing them back into a perspective that you have or you deliver. Do you know what I mean by that? Like where we come in and say, well, if you guys change this and this and this, because that's going to match what we do, it's supposed to be the other way around.
No, that's right.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, no. And I've said this even with CMMS companies, right? We don't, from a software perspective, if you're developing software or creating applications or product to where the company has to mold and change the way they fundamentally function in order to leverage your system or your software, probably not best idea, right?
Hold up. Wait a minute. It's a good time to pause this episode real quick and talk to you about what Bryan just said. Let us know in the comments. Do you believe your current process is a result of conforming to your current solutions? Or are your current solutions adaptable and built for your foundational process? What situation are you in? Let us know in the comments. Now, as someone who's been there and done that in both of these, I know Bryan has as well, Greg has, Joe has, all of us. I've used CMMSs for over a decade. I got to try and evaluate some, find the right fit for me, implement it, and now working in the CMMS space. 2 things you can do to avoid during your selection process. 1 is trusting the internet for all your information about which CMMSs you should be looking at. 2, when you do get in front, and some of y'all schedule like 10 of these evaluations, is showing up and saying the same thing, which is, show me what you got. No. It's a waste of your time, and I don't want to waste your time. So here's what we're going to do. You need to talk to people. And you know where those people are going to be? SMRP, Fort Worth, Texas, October 6th through 9th. I'm going to plug it again. CMMS 10 to get 10% off. Talk to Bryan, talk to myself, talk to Joe, talk to Greg, talk to whoever I interrupt next week. You lead people, you manage processes, and you measure results. There's a solution out there that helps you and will accommodate you and support you in all 3 of those and how you operate today or how you want to optimize your process. So use those 3 things, and the first person to find me at SMRP and show me a picture of a rooster gets the only hat I'm bringing to the show. If you want it, come get it. First come, first serve. Let's get back to Bryan.
So discovery is super important. Assessment is super important. And the way that I generally get to the bottom of a lot of things is I just walk around. I ask dumb questions. Hey, what's that guy do? Oh, that's cool. What does he do? What does she do? How does this work? Teach me something, right? And I talk to everybody, from the guy who cleans to the guy who makes all the decisions. You don't know jack shit unless you talk to all of those people. The guy at the top's going to say, everything's great, we're this, we're that, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes that's not gospel, right? You're going to talk to the middle management. He's going to be like, my hair's on fire and I want to go home, right? You talk to the guys doing the work. I don't know what's going on. They just tell me to do this and I go do that. And then they tell me to go do this and I go do that. And then by that time, it's time for me to go home.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. And there's a lot in between all of that. But yeah, I mean, you just got to talk. That's the thing. Like, you just got to talk to people. You just have to have experience being in their shoes, knowing, wow, I know how much this sucks. I know how terrible it is to have people making decisions on behalf of themselves and not including me, right? And then when things go bad, I get blamed. So like, there's this whole gamut here. And in a nutshell, without going into 5 hours of whatever, you need to talk to people, all people. And you have to give them the same time of day and listening as you would the higher levels of the organization. It's the same thing. All the people matter. There is no business without this chain of command, if you will. So you have to embrace and understand the entire chain of command.
It seems like a lot of times when, and I'm going to say we, not necessarily you and I, but in the industry, we might have a tendency to go into these environments with, at first, the intention to see how they're doing it, but we might make the mistake of very quickly looking for our opportunities. Mm-hmm. And that takes you a step or 2 away from understanding, because now you're starting to focus on this concept of, how do I win a deal, make some money? And as hard as it is, what I'm trying to say here is, as hard as that might be to let that play out naturally, you'll get really good results from that. And I would add to it that when you can't help or you can't understand and you try to get further understanding and you just can't get there, you've got to find a way to disengage that benefits that customer. And sometimes you might get in trouble from your boss. How did this make it through business development, get into, you going on site and we flew you over there? It happens. And that's why when you talk about the discovery step being really important, whether that is on the phone, but it is still happening when you're on site. Yes. And you're discovering. You're not looking for opportunities. You are looking for clues to where are the bottlenecks, where are the disruptions, where are the dissatisfactions.
Yeah, and they know that, right? The business knows. Someone in the organization, that's why I say you have to talk to everybody. Someone knows there's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? You just got to talk to them about that problem. Going in there and saying, I'm an MRO storeroom expert and I know everything about MRO and I'm going to teach you everything you need to know. You go in there like that, they're going to be like, well, what about us? Like, can we have input here? Like, what if we don't need your billion dollar expertise in this specific thing, right? Why don't you talk to us and like help us understand where you're coming from and we'll help you understand where we are coming from.
Yeah.
So I always like to think about it like if you go into a situation where you're providing discovery or consultation or something, you go in there vulnerable, humble, and with the best intentions, people pick up on those things. And they're like, wow, this guy actually cares. He's clearly done the work. He has a lot of good recommendations, but he's not telling us how much we suck. He's not telling us to buy his whatever. He's merely existing with us. And we are understanding these things together. It's like, I think we talked about it one time where it's like, people seeing a representation of themselves in you.
Not to mention the genuine curiosity where you're doing a lot more of listening, through asking the right kind of questions. But even, and when I say the right questions, that doesn't mean they have to be smart and clever and tricky.
Yeah.
It means they have to be just real questions. I was talking about conferences with somebody, and there was this little part of the discussion about how people at conferences approach others. And like when somebody comes out of a workshop, if I'm at a maintenance conference or something like that, and I just catch eyes with them and I see that they just came out of a workshop, a speaking session. Maybe it was somebody I know, or maybe somebody that I don't know. And I just say, hey, how was that session? And they start talking to me. And then I say, well, tell me more. Why does that matter to you? And don't forget, I'm not there to sell them anything. I'm there to learn what they're learning and why it's important, because that brings all this stuff right back to the industry. And that's an attitude that requires maintenance too. Like you have to maintain your intention around that. That's not easy to do, right? You have to be all about it, but that takes work as well.
Yeah. I mean, and I know I've said this, I think I've said this on here before, but like it does take intention to want to be and know a lot of cool, great things, right? Of industry and for industry. And you've got to do the work. You've got to put in the time. Like, people don't just materialize and go, I know all this stuff. Right. Right. It doesn't happen. And then, then you have, and I'm a big harper on this. You have the people who read all the books, never done the work, but they know all the terms, the acronyms, they know how to tell you, they can tell you everything that you need to be doing. And they've never done it themselves. They've never been responsible for it. They've never had their shit kicked in at 3:00 in the morning because what they were planning to do didn't work, or the guys didn't show up, or they didn't have the tools, or you lost $1 million in production, whatever. That's all easy, right? So it's like you gotta put that time in, get those reps in. You have to do those things, and that's why with things that I don't know, I rely on other people who do know. Yeah, like talking about Matt, I know a lot about condition monitoring. I don't know nearly as much as Matt does. So when I start talking about condition monitoring, I segue right to him for those technical expertise specifics.
Well, that's what it means to assemble a team.
I'll talk about the maintenance stuff all day long and how they're symbiotic, right? But when it comes to all that other stuff, I don't know. I talk to him.
That's right. That's I mean, we could really spin out from here. so much to talk about, and it's been too long, man. So this is cool for me. So yeah, you used to say, I want to know what you know, because I know that there's so much that I don't know. And that's kind of the important thing. And I don't think we're telling anybody anything new. I think we're just trying to remind them, don't forget about this stuff. Don't forget about this stuff, because it actually matters more than all the shiny stuff. And we're making fun of shiny stuff and buzzy stuff. But the reason we do this is just so that you can, don't keep looking here. Look here and look here.
Yeah, they're words. They're words.
Put your ego in the background and, eat your vegetables.
Eat your steak.
Yeah, you well, of course, but you're also a big fan of the mutual suck.
100%. That is where the relationships are forged.
Yeah,
in the suck. I hate this. Me too. How do we solve it? Let's do it together. You want to go far? You got to go together.
Well, obviously, I'm chomping at the bit to talk about this next segment. This is the next segment called.
We got like 5.5 minutes. Let's rip.
We've got SMRP coming up October 6th through 9th out in Fort Worth, Texas. And you and Uptime Solutions, you guys are going to be there. I know you're going to be there. I know Matt Knuth is going to be there. I believe Jeremy Drury is going to be there.
Amissa may be there as well.
And Amissa might be there. So I want to ask you, you've got some experience with SMRP. You're a CMRP. What for you is special and unique about that specific conference? And as you head there this year, what are some of the things you're most looking forward to that would matter to anybody that hears this?
I love SMRP. I think the number one reason I like SMRP is because I have so many friends who also share in their love of SMRP. I look at SMRP not as like some kind of revenue driver or anything like that, right? I look at SMRP as relationship maintaining and building. And it just so happens to be in the presence of a very well-recognized organization that has set a very straightforward standard for testing knowledge on our industry, right? So the number one thing is friends. I love chopping it up with our friends and making new friends and learning more about people and what they do and all that. Sorry, what was the second question?
It's more around what you're really looking forward to. Other than that, like why people should attend it. Oh, okay. What do you think is going to be happening this year that maybe hasn't happened before, and what's also going to be happening that should continue to happen that has always happened?
Sure. All the workshops are fantastic. They're being led by a lot of our great friends who know exactly what they're talking about. I know that you have a very cool thing going on there this year, which I am excited to see and super excited to cheer you on and all those great companies that you're supporting. And I think that, there needs to be something like that at these trade shows. There needs to be something for an agnostic person or company to just chop it up with all the companies. You know what I mean? If you're a CEO or a founder or whatever you want to call yourself, that's really cool. Like, you're going to have competition everywhere you go. It's good. Let people talk about it. Let people decide for themselves who's best, right? And who's the best fit for them. There is no best, right? It's what's the best fit for me. And the fact that you're bringing so many companies together in partnership with another company, if it's okay for me to, So Nano Precise, right? And you are working together in conjunction with SMRP to really drive conversations around all these great technologies. It's a good thing. If you think you're like floating above us and your product can't be seen with anybody else's, it's like, come on.
Well, it's kind of cool how it all came together. So cool. Obviously we both know Kevin Clark, awesome human, great, awesome, huge proponent of the industry and like no joke about it. And he and I were talking. He says, "Greg, I want to have you host this thing called Friends of Nano." And I pulled in all kinds of cool sponsors and participants to help make it happen. Reliability X, George Williams, Joe Anderson, Dan Anderson, Paul Croker, and Angelica Williams. You know, they're bringing the rig that I like to use. So they got top billing. We've got a lot of our other industry friends and people that participate on CMMS Radio that have decided to get in on this. You know, for example, MaintainX, Upkeep. Of course, I'm an Upkeep ambassador, so they have to be in on it. We've got Ultimo coming in. They're going to participate. We've got eMaint coming in. They're going to participate. Greg Perry.
Very familiar with eMaint.
Yeah, he's gonna sit down with me. We're gonna talk about a really cool subject. I don't want to tell anybody what it is, but it's going to add value. We're also going to have Elevotech, great guys out of Canada. They do consulting. They're asset management professionals like no other. And a lot of these guys are friends. They work together. We've got Mentor APM coming in. We got Brightly. I'm gonna have Corey sit down, talk to me about a few things. We love Corey. That's going to be fun to have him on. And I'm going to do some other stuff and pull some people in for interviews that aren't even part of the sponsor group. And it's just going to be fun times, real conversations, not just what's happening at the show, what's happening in this industry, how's it making a difference. And it's not about selling anything. It's about these cool, real, raw conversations that are meant to help somebody. And I can't wait to see you and your team there. I'm going to come hang out at your booth a little bit for Uptime Solutions because I want to visit with you guys, but I want to learn some stuff about what you guys are really doing. I love the crew you guys have assembled, and I appreciate you shouting out that special event that I'm doing. I'll put an announcement out next week that really lines up the sponsors. So if I missed anybody, sorry about that. I'm focused on the conversation.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. And you know, the SMRP, you know, the governing body of our certifications, right? CMRT, CMRP. I think they have another one too. But you know, I encourage everybody to study and sit those exams, right? Just because you get your CMRP doesn't mean you're some new maintenance expert. It's not the way it works. Okay. But it does give you the foundation to have conversations about industry, to further your knowledge. Like, you may learn things in this journey that prompt you to want to learn things outside of that, right? Maybe you're really into condition monitoring, and you know there are a lot of stuff about condition monitoring on CMRP and CMRT, right? Or maybe you're super into safety and EHS, or maybe there's a lot of that too, or business management. There's all these things, so it doesn't hurt to study, read great books, sit that exam, get your CMRP, and spread the word. No one's saying if you have your CMRP that you have to be some person who's done all this crazy stuff. Like, no, it's about leveling yourself up from an education standpoint and making your tool belt, if you will, a little deeper, so that you can draw upon a lot of things.
Even if you're not a practitioner, you can better understand the theory that practitioners are leveraging through their experience and the work that they do. And one thing I want to remind everybody of, Ramesh Gulati, of course, is going to be there, and he's going to be doing some book signing. I'm probably going to have a little special thing for that. So when that's going on, I want everybody to cruise over, not for anything other than to have nice little conversations, because that Ramesh, he'll be the first one to tell you, your technology, that's not what it is. And he's not wrong. There's going to be a really cool session where I believe it's Ramesh Gulati and George Williams are going to be on stage wrestling with that concept. And that's going to be great. Andy Gager's got really cool stuff going on. He's got 2 different sessions. And what's cool about his sessions is they're back to back. So it's really convenient for people. I can't name everything. Otherwise we'd run out of time and you'd be late for your next appointment, brother.
Yeah, I would.
Bryan Bieschke, Uptime Solutions. He's a CMRP. He'll tell you he's just a mechanic. For me, much more than that. He's a friend and he's a real deal pro. Brother, thanks for being on CMMS Radio.
Thanks so much, Craig, man. We'll see you.
Yeah, man. Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.